10 easy steps to the best roast chicken. Let's go. Guys, we've got a banging trilogy coming up the next few weeks. I'm going to show you roast chicken and some really key steps of how to make it as good as possible. And following that, I'm going to make some stock with the leftovers of the chicken. Following that, French onion soup. Yes, sir. All right, guys, welcome back to the kitchen. If you've not been here before, my name is Matt. This is the channel where I break it down. We make cooking easy and simple for big foodies and little foodies. Get your hands washed. Let's get into it. So, today I'm going to show you roast chicken. Now, hold on. It's not just simple roast chicken. I mean, there's some added extras here, which is going to take this humble roast chicken to the next level. So let's have a quick look at the tools we need. Not one, but 2 chopping boards, a small tray, and a medium to large roasting tin. Tongs, some kind of large knife, a peeler, and a carving fork, or a couple big forks. All this for just roast chicken. Well, yes, and I'll break it down, I'll show you, and you'll see how these things are going to be useful. Let's look at the ingredients. So, we've got a chicken. Of course, the star of the show. Now, chicken comes in all sorts of ranges. You know, you got free range, you got less free range, but really you want to aim for as good as you can afford, really. So free range, corn-fed, organic, if possible. But even if you can't get all that, even just a basic supermarket roast chicken, it's gonna be better than KFC, I promise you. And especially if you add these steps to it. So we could just bung that in the oven as it is, but no, there's some extra steps. So let's look at this together. Let's look at these extra ingredients. Seasoning wise, we've got salt, pepper, lemon, garlic, and some fresh herbs. Here I'm using bay and rosemary. We're going to put it on a bed of vegetables. So I've got some parsnips, onions, butternut squash, and carrots. Carrots? Those aren't carrots. They're purple. Well, they're actually an heirloom carrot. And did you know carrots used to be purple? They were genetically modified to be orange. How about that? Little fun fact for you. So, step 1 with our roast chicken is going to be doing what we call dry brine. Now, this might sound like a scary process. It's actually very simple, but it just does require a bit of time. In fact, it requires overnight. So we're going to get rid of most of this stuff. Right, so what is dry brine? Now, make sure your hands are super clean for this, because we're going to be holding this chicken. Roll up the sleeves. You might want scissors or a knife to cut off this string that has been wrapped in. Now, dry brine, all it is seasoning with salt, and we're going to do that inside and out. Plenty of salt. In fact, it's also a good idea, if there's any moisture on here, it's a good idea to wipe that off with a paper towel. And then you just want to put salt all over this bird. And what this is doing is 2 things. It is A, of course, seasoning with salt, and B, it's going to dry out the skin and lock in the moisture of the chicken that's already there and prevent that from escaping quite so much during the cooking process. And it will make for a tender, juicier chicken. So that's all it takes. And then this guy is going to go into the fridge overnight to have a good old chill. And then we want to make sure you completely clear this area and wipe it down and give your hands a thoroughly good wash. Anytime you touch any raw meat like that, you've got to make sure they're super clean afterwards, so those germs will travel. All right, it's the next day now. Welcome back. And out comes the chicken in time to prepare for our supper. So it wants to come out an hour before it goes into the oven so that it comes up to sort of room temperature. The reason for this is that it will cook more evenly. So while that's coming up to temperature, I can prep my veg because this guy's not going to be alone. Great. The next thing to do, of course, is to turn on the oven. Now, I've already done that. It's heating up to 230 Celsius. That's very high, basically as high as it will go, and then we'll turn it down once we put the chicken in. And now we can finish prepping our bird. So now's the time you get your second board. Reason being, you should never prep raw meat, especially raw chicken, on the same surface as you've prepped vegetables, in either order really, because this has bacteria from the vegetables and this is going to get bacteria from the chicken. So it's very important. Let's move over here. Next thing is we're going to add some flavor into this. We've already got plenty of seasoning in the way of salt, but we're going to add some pepper. So I've already got some ground ahead of time because it's quite tricky to hold the bird open and grind pepper at the same time. So I'll do that and then you can just sprinkle it in like that. Then we're also going to add in some of our fresh herbs. So you can put those bay leaves in whole, a couple sprigs of thyme. We're going to put some garlic in. So let's slice this down the middle. The bottom we can put in with the veg. And these are going to go straight in to the cavity. Don't worry too much about peeling them. And then we also want to put in some lemon. So I've got some chunks of lemon. So just chop it up into a few pieces. And then basically you want to stuff as many as you can inside that cavity. What's going to happen with this is that as it cooks and gets hot, the steam and all the flavors from the lemon and garlic is going to infuse into the chicken from the inside out. Whatever's left in the way of these bits here, so we've got some herbs and lemon, let's put those underneath. So the chicken is going to go on top of the veg here. That way it's raised up. So if you decide not to put veg with your chicken for whatever reason, you're free to do that. Then it's always a good idea to raise up the chicken. So you could put it on a metal truss or something like that. And that will also help that cooking process to be even. Right, move this around here. The other thing is this chicken's got all rather relaxed. Oh, there's a bit of garlic escaping. So it's good to try and get it to tighten up. So there's several ways of doing that. You can either use some kitchen string to tie the things in, or you can tuck those legs in to there like that. That's pretty good. And then you want to tuck the wings in as well underneath. Or the other way of doing it is a little skewer. And if you pop that in through the skin of those legs and that excess skin, then it's going to keep it all linked in together. You've got to be careful not to skewer your own finger in the process. There we go. Right, that's going to go on the middle. A little bit of olive oil. Anytime you've got to go and do something, wash those hands, which is what I've been doing. Right, and then into the oven. Right, so, ooh, it's smoking, that's how hot it is. So that's going into that very hot oven, which is about 230 Celsius, basically as high as you can go, 400 Fahrenheit, 450. And then once that's in, give it a couple minutes and then turn it down to the normal roasting temperature, which is 170, 180, what's that, 350 Fahrenheit, depending on if your oven is a fan oven or not. And the reason for that is that what happens is that you're sealing the meat. You're cooking the outside very quickly, and that too will help keep the juices inside the meat. So time-wise, a rough rule of thumb is per kilo or per kilo is about an hour, 60 minutes per kilo, which is about half an hour per pound, roughly speaking. That gives you a rough idea. But the best way to know when it's cooked is if you have a meat thermometer, and that will give you a real good indication of when it's cooked once it hits 74 degrees Celsius, which I forget now what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'll put it on the screen for you. So we'll let that do its thing and come back in a moment. Oh, look at that. Let's see. It's been 20 minutes and there's some juices in the bottom of the pan. So we're going to give it a bit of a baste. It's all about that baste, about that baste, about that baste. There we go. And keeping the moisture in the chicken. Okay, we're ready. Let that steam out. And there she is. Looking nice and juicy, smelling amazing. So I did put a thermometer on that, which is really handy because it helps you get that perfect temperature. This I thought would take longer. It was actually in there just under an hour. So depending on the bird, it will take more or less time. You want 74 Celsius, it's 165 Fahrenheit is that internal temperature, and it will continue to cook. And then the final step, of course, is that you want to rest your meat. Any roast meat that you do, you want to have it rested for minimum 10, maybe 20 minutes before you serve it. That gives the meat time to relax and those juices to dissipate throughout. If you're worried about it getting cold, just put some foil over with a tea towel, and that will help keep that heat in there. I'm not going to tell you about the gravy. I mean, that's some really good juices there in the bottom of the pan. I don't know if you can see those. That's just going to be an instant gravy. You don't really have to do anything. So we've killed maybe multiple birds with one hit. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope those tips were helpful to you in your roast chicken, and make sure to like and subscribe. And next week, I'm going to be showing you what I do with this chicken after we've finished eating it. Yes, that's right, nothing goes to waste. I'm going to be making a chicken stock. Super simple, but it's worth a watch. So hit that bell button for the notification. All right, keep cooking.